Okay, this article is called 10 Disturbing SHTF Threats That Most Preppers Haven't Prepared For. And here's the article right here if you want to look it up and do some more checking on it. It says number one is no law enforcement. During a extreme SHTF scenario, it is very likely that law enforcement and emergency responders will be non existent, even during small scale disasters. Law enforcement officers often leave to take care of their own families first. When things go bad, empty grocery stores, no utilities, mass riots, violence, etc., you are more than likely going to have to defend yourself. And that's true. You know, a lot of people say, oh, the government will be there for me and take care of me. Not always, because a lot of them will walk away. When things get bad enough, they will walk away and take care of their family because that's their family. They're not going to stay and do all this. They're going to walk away. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but you know, if I was in their situation and I have a family I have to think about surviving and stuff, what am I going to do? I'm going to go take care of my family. Number two is the fake law enforcement. In a SHTF scenario, you'll be on the lookout for everything, including people impersonating law enforcement and military personnel. And that's what you're going to see a lot of right there, of course. During a catastrophic event, you will most likely see criminals preying on the innocent, pretending to be either police or military officers. You have to be able to quickly determine who is who or stay away from people at all costs. Someone will break into the police stations. They will break into places like the National Guard Army or whatever, and they will army surplus stores and stuff, and they will put on these uniforms and make you think that they are military or police officers to gain your trust and then to rob you sometimes. That's something to think about. Number three, law enforcement and military will try to take your guns. Think it can't happen? It already has. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans Police Superintendent Eddie Compass ordered all law enforcement, including the U.S. Marshal's Office and the National Guard, to seize all civilians' firearms. Without warrants, armed National Guard troops and New Orleans law enforcement forcefully confiscated over 1,000 legal firearms from law-abiding citizens. The New Orleans gun confiscated should serve as warning to how the government and law enforcement officers will react during a large-scale national disaster. It is extremely likely that they will come for your guns. And that is, of course, a possibility that you are going to have to look at. But they only collected over 1,000. And that was just 1,000 that they collected. Can you imagine how many that they didn't collect? So that's something you have to think about right there. Them coming after your weapons. You know, like I say, the situation, they only was able to collect over 1,000. But you got to realize how many people is in these cities. So, and things like that, when that situation happened in New Orleans there, hundreds of thousands or more. So most people hid their weapons or whatever where they couldn't take them. And I don't blame them. Number four is gaining raiders. Now that goes without saying, you know, in a situation you're going to have people basically flip burgers for a living or whatever, and during that crisis they get to become someone that they don't get to become in a normal everyday situation. They can become part of that gang member. They can become part of those raiders. They get to become something more than what it was. A lot of them that becomes that. A lot of them just flat out just mean to begin with. But then you got a lot of them that's picked on, bullied in school, considered nerds or whatever, loners because of circumstances. And this is their time to retaliate. And that's what is going to happen in many, many cases. And people that you thought of as your best friend could be among that group as well. You don't know in a situation. The true colors can't come out. Number five, you need to be able to defend yourself during a extreme emergency situation. The lunatics of the world are going to be roaming the streets looking for easy victims to target. If you're serious about survival, you need to train yourself in multiple self-defense styles and techniques. This means arming yourself with not only weapons but also with the knowledge of how to defend yourself with them. Strength is not always the case in defending yourself. Knowing the points of injury, the nose is very here. Simply just doing this with your fingers in it can easily dislocate, shoving it up in your nose. The ears take about 5 pounds of pressure. You can rip the ears off easily. The throat is a easy vocal point where you can take and ram your fingers into here or your fist into the throat in a situation. The knees is another area to aim for, as well as take it and try. Your goal is to break bones. The goal is to injure them and slow them down. So you need to do research on things. People who have limited physical abilities don't have to be super strong in order to defend themselves. What your purpose is to get away from these people. So if that means you got to injure them to slow them down, then that's what you got to do. Okay? So sanitation issue is going to be something else. This is garbage will become a killer. This is a topic that's not often discussed, but the one that will probably become a real problem during any long-term disaster situation. If the gangs of criminals don't get you, the real danger might actually come from something that you already have in your home, garbage. And that's something else you need to think about also. You need to have, I use paper plates in bowls uh, quite often. And then you can take those paper plates and bowls and you can burn them. Also, you need to think about your food that you would want to stock up and not have so many canned goods. You would want to have like dry goods and things like that you can fix in a situation like that out of the packages and things like that. So you can burn the packages. That will reduce some of your garbage. Another thing is the bathroom facilities. Uh, that's something you need to think about. If you can afford a porta potty, that will be good to afford something like that in that situation. And of course, if you could turn around and dig you a hole in your yard where you could take and dispose of that waste and cover it up and place lime over it will also help in that situation. And then, of course, it's talking about number 7, you have to stock up on sanitation items. Now, the thing is, a lot of it you can make yourself. Like, for example, you could take baking soda and just simply put your little tea tree oil on a piece of cotton or whatever, or a small, like, little pad, and then dip it down into the baking soda, and you can use it for deodorant and things of that way. You need to think about dry shampoo. So that's something you need to think about. On you can make your own dry shampoo. It's not the best. I make my own dry shampoo. You can check one of my videos out where I make my own. It has its benefits. You do if you once you use it, you do need to brush forward to get it out, not back because you're going to remain it, and it does take a little bit. But I'll tell you what, it's better than nothing. Another thing you need to think about is making your own hand sanitizers and things for germ removal and things in that area. Also, considering um, alcohol to take and wash with, using a pad or whatever. You just take your alcohol, you put a pad up, you rub it on there, and it will help remove some of the dirt and everything you need. Also to keep you clean in that situation. You also need to think about fixing you up a little pan of vinegar water to use to place a washcloth in and use it to help wash your private areas and stuff off as well when you are using the bathroom. Then placing that dirty washcloth in a separate bucket of vinegar and water, and you can add baking soda to it to help clean it. wash them out, dry them, and then you can use them again over. So that will help there. Number 8 is maintaining a positive mental attitude during a survival situation. People's going to get depressed, they're going to get irritated, they're going to get disgusted, and there's also people who's going to become very dangerous in that situation, and that can be a threat in that way by beginning thinking that if they don't, they're going to starve, they're going to do it, and they're going to take your food or whatever. So that's something to think about too, is the mental and physical health issues as well. Keeping yourself going in a situation. And then number 9, you must be prepared to face a number of physical and mental challenges, from dealing with a lack of sleep and inadequate hydration to coping with hunger pains and other stressors. Survival can take a huge toll on your body. One of the best things you can do to ensure your survival and just value is to make sure your body and your mind are trained to survive. This means motivating yourself to get off your butt and get in shape before it's too late. Now, there's people with physical limits that are not able to do the things they used to. Now, I'm limited compared to the way I used to be. I was active. I used to walk several miles a day. I went caving. I did other things. Uh, I was at work today. I couldn't. I used to be able to stretch myself and get down to the floor pretty good, but I've got a fake knee, and eventually I'll probably have to have more parts replaced. But the fact is even getting out walking and doing some physical stuff, even if you just walk a mile a day, it's still something to think about. Even getting some free weights and using those free weights while you're watching TV and just doing this. You don't have to try to be a skinny mini. And my metabolism won't allow it. But the thing is, there is things you can kind of do to help yourself physically in some way, somehow. So, don't run down to the gym and spend 4 hours a day. That don't necessarily mean it's going to be it. Number 10 is communication issues. You will be cut off from the outside world. In a survival situation, knowledge is going to be a critical factor in determining the ultimate outcome of your situation. The ability to be able to predict what will happen during a survival situation is an important part of being prepared, and often comes down to your ability to send and receive information. When the power lines go down and the radio station stops transmitting, there's one line of communication that will still be alive and well. Having a good multi-band ham radio will allow you to send and receive critical emergency information during a disaster. It's also a great way to find alternative news sources from around the world. Now, we got a discussion about that. Ham radios can be really expensive, then you have to get license and everything on it. But we was talking about CB radios, and CB radios is also on a different frequency. You might not be able to pick up around the world with stuff, but you might be able to pick up from another person and rig it up and things so where you can get some power from that. And that is, of course, something, the way to think about it on that. Now, there's all kinds of things here. I mean, all of them's good points. There's a lot to think about. So, again, you don't know what's going to happen one day next. We talk, my son and I go with deep discussions while he's down here visiting me. We don't always agree on everything, but we respect one another's opinion because we both approach things from different ways in certain situations. But the thing is that no matter what happens, you need to have alternative thoughts on what you want to do. We was talking about places to hide. I was asked myself, do you think a graveyards would be good? Should I do a story about that? And he says graveyards would not be a good place to hide. Says too many people, the military and all, would come look for it. I said, well, I'm talking about abandoned graveyards. It's been abandoned for years and years, possibly hiding their mausoleums and staying there temporarily. He also talked about Warden National Parks that they know to come look in there. He said he was found in places, because he lived out his backpack for years, basically traveling, hiking around the United States, and said there were places he thought he was safe, and park rangers found him. And that will be the situation. So you need to think about where you want to go to survive, First of all, you need to avoid the large cities at all costs. You need to avoid the main bypasses and interstates and stuff like that. If you got to evaluate, best way to go is back roads and stuff. And if you got to park your vehicle, then you put your bug out bag on your back and you start traveling. And that's just basically how it is. So, this life prepper here, I hope this helped you out some. I want you to be safe, be happy. Bless you all.